Hello dear students, welcome to the online education of class 6 science. So dear students, in the previous classes I have started the new lesson light, shadows and reflections. In the beginning class we have discussed about the concept of luminosity, that is luminous objects and non-luminous subjects and their examples. And in the next class we have discussed about the transparent, opaque and translucent objects and their differences and examples for them we have discussed. Okay, so and we also have conducted an activity to understand. We have made a list of some of the objects which are found in our surroundings or we use in our day-to-day life, for example a pencil, pen, rubber, plastic, wood, whatever it is, and we checked it through activity whether that object is transparent, translucent or opaque. Okay, so now in today's class let us discuss another important concept, that is what exactly are shadows. So what are shadows we are going to discuss. Okay, so here there is an activity given here. Let's understand the activity. So let's go through that. Activity number 2. Okay, so here one by one what you need to do is we have to hold each of the opaque objects in the sunlight, whatever the list of objects which are made in the table 11.1. so in that some of the objects are opaque, so you have to hold that opaque objects one by one in the sunlight. So slightly above the ground means you should not hold it just very close to the ground, you have to hold it just slightly above the ground. So what do you see on the ground? Yes, when you hold the object, opaque object, slightly above the ground in just in the sunlight, what you are going to see, that is nothing but you will see the dark patch of that object which is formed by the object. Okay, so you are going to see the dark patch formed by the each of the opaque object on the ground. It is due to its shadow. So sometimes you can identify the object by just looking at its shadow. Am I right or not? See, sometimes by just seeing the shadow you can see what kind of animal is standing behind. For example, dog, okay, cat or horse, like that. Okay, just by seeing the shadow we can able to see what object is there. Okay, so look at the figure 11.2 here. Sometimes shadow of an object gives an idea about its shape. For example, in the diagram the shadow of the bird is showing, so that idea of that object is usually you can identify without seeing that original object. Okay, tree, okay, then paper, man, so like that. So now what you do, spread a sheet of paper on the ground. So just take a sheet of paper and spread it on the ground. Hold a familiar opaque object at some height. Take any opaque object which is very much familiar to you at some height from the ground in the sunlight, so that its shadow is formed on the sheet of paper on the ground. So you have to hold that opaque object in such a way that above the ground, in such a way that its shadow, the shadow of that object should fall on the sheet of paper which is there on the ground. Okay, as one of your friends, ask any one of your friends so to draw the outline of that shadow while you are holding that object in the sunlight. Okay, so when the shadow is formed on the sheet of paper on the ground, so when you are holding the opaque object in the sunlight, okay, above the ground, so at that time ask any one of your friend to draw the outline, structure or shape of that object, shape of the shadow which is formed on the sheet of paper. Okay, so later on, now ask your friend, some other friends, okay, to identify the objects from those outlines of shadows which is formed for different kinds of shadows formed for different kinds of opaque objects. You have to draw the outlines. Okay, now ask many of your friends now, so try to ask them to try to identify those objects just by seeing their outlines. Is it possible or not? Yes, of course. Okay, so how many objects are they able to identify correctly? So how many kinds of objects are they able to identify correctly? How many they made it wrong? So you observe that your shadow is in a dark room at night. Okay, even you can find your shadow in the dark room, or at night you can see your shadow when there is no light at all. Okay, so you observe a shadow and there is just a source of light and nothing else in a room. Okay, so just there is a source of light and nothing else is there in the room, so then also you can see the shadow. So it seems that we would need a source of light and an opaque object to see a shadow. So it's here we'll understand clearly what is the definition of shadow. So in order to see the shadow of any object we must have a source of light and also an opaque object. Okay, this gives a formation of shadow. Yes. Okay, let me stop here and let us continue the remaining part of the lesson in the next class. Thank you and have a nice day.